Well, I'd like to just thank you on behalf of the Dujardin family for coming today and for covering this important story. It's important not only for the family, but for basically everybody that uses our city, whether they're our residents or guests from international. This is you don't think about it this way, but it is an international waterway, and nothing could be more important than that. And the other thing that we know about our city is that we have visitors now internationally, and we always have, including some very big conventions. And the thing that's most striking is that people that come here don't automatically know or assume that these bridges move at all. In fact, we keep it a secret from them because we don't even have a sign that says anything on any of the bridges that the bridges rise. In fact, we talk about snow plows or plows, but nothing indicates to a visitor or even somebody that maybe comes here from Greenfield or Mequon that these bridges rise. And so it's very important that we talk about that. Now, the reason that we've called this is the family has retained me to make sure that there is some accountability for this. We call this, in my line of work, a never event. Something like this should never, ever, ever happen. A bridge getting raised when a pedestrian in plain sight is on it and hasn't cleared, and the gates have already come down behind him, and the bells have stopped ringing. That's why we believe that the video feed is directly behind you and would give a full view of that. These turrets, even though there's 4 here, and even though this bridge is twice as wide, both for pedestrians on both sides and for car traffic on both sides, than any other bridge, this bridge is not manned. Even though the founders, whoever built this bridge, put 4 turrets on it, that any one could be manned at any time. The other thing that's striking about this is that all the other bridges he would not have gotten hurt on, because those bridges rise up like a platform, up and down, and so very low risk of harm. If it rises up in front of you and you step up there, well, that's a different story. These 2 bridges rise. So if you're going to man a bridge, this would be the one that certainly should be manned, or we're looking into the systems on this. Now, I know that there's been an investigation underway supposedly, but the most important part of an investigation is that it's independent. That's the whole reason that it's an investigation. And right now there is not, to my knowledge, an independent investigation going on. You have the very authorities that operate these systems looking at these systems. They should at least be looking at the consultants, the vendors, who advised them to install it this way. If we don't look at the entire system failure, then we're never going to look at it. Some people have called this a freak accident, stuff like that. This is a tragedy waiting to happen on any one of these bridges that rises. This one also rises higher than the rest. Most of them rise 70 degrees or shorter, are much shorter bridges. This one, as we know, sadly, rose all the way to the 90-degree point, and we know that Richard Dujardin held on for his life for a very long time. And his wife, who already crossed, had to watch the worst tragedy of losing her soulmate. And that's a word that I'm using that gets overused, but these folks were the real deal. They were here being recognized with others for their volunteerism through the Catholic and other charities, and they were here walking from the Hilton, and they were walking to get a little exercise and go to Mass at one of our oldest churches down the street. She was doing an exercise routine, but this has been reported as well. Richard was, they had no idea the bridge was going to raise anyway, but he's very hard of hearing and he's very slow, but he had a ton of spirit. So there's a lot of things that he wanted to do in his life. He was a reporter for 44 years. He covered religious issues mostly, interviewed the Pope in his lifetime. And Rosemary and Richard did everything together, from morning coffee to reading stories together. They shared every single aspect of their lives. And so she just has a hole ripped right through her. And every day that there's not an independent investigation, it's just like another injury. That is the thing about these cases, is that the tragedy happens once, and you have no closure because there's no certainty that there's going to be a root cause analysis. That's the most important thing. So we'd really like the city, I know that the District Attorney Chisholm has opened an investigation. That's good. I've also called the U.S. Attorney to see if they would, because this is an international waterway and these folks were from another state. So there is federal jurisdiction for the Coast Guard or the federal government to do an investigation or an independent investigation. We, of course, will do an independent investigation as well, but because of the way the law is written, our hands are a little bit tied. We have 120 days if the claim is against the city to file a claim, but more importantly, there's limited information that we can get because we can't start a lawsuit right now. The law is written so that somebody injured in a municipal setting can't do anything for 120 days, and then they have to wait 120 days after that. Well, by then, all those cameras could be erased, other cameras could be erased, changes could be made. There's no assurances unless somebody acts now, and I can't get subpoena power to make that happen. So this is a call to my neighbors, all of you, that if anybody has any information, 2 witnesses have already come forward that the police did not interview to talk to me about this incident. They asked the police to talk to them. So this is something that's happening real time. A friend of mine last summer worked on the boats, and I don't know which one it is, okay? But the bridge was lowered on top of that boat and took out the navigation system real time. They lowered it with a boat going through it. So there's all sorts of root cause analysis here that needs to be done in this investigation. The key word here that I call it is a known and present danger. So I think I covered the independent part. I think I covered about the family. And I just the word, this is important to me, otherwise I wouldn't do this work, responsibility. I mean, really, what is responsibility? I have not heard, even though this is almost a month ago, I've not heard the leaders in our city apologize to this family, to give any assurances that there's going to be a full and thorough investigation to find out why this happened. Nothing. And we're going to be welcoming more guests. In fact, I listened to Alderman Bauman question the DPW head the other day, and what he asked is, well, why don't you record the video, because then we can prove you didn't do anything wrong. That is not the way you go into an investigation where you already know the conclusion. You go into investigation to find out what really happened and why. And so that's what we're really seeking here today. So I'll take some questions if you'd like. You know, like I said, the family, Rosemary really wanted me to let you all know, you know, just how close they were. And so she's not, I mean, I think in shock, was able to talk to some of you folks right afterwards. She's really not even able to talk to me very much. Like, I have to ask her a question and it'll take her a day or two to even respond, or she responds to her son. So this is, and sadly I know what it's like to lose a spouse, so it's something that doesn't ever go away. Thanks.
You know, obviously the family, you know, what are they hoping to find out in this investigation? Obviously, you know, it's been a month, and, you know, obviously the mayor called it a freak accident. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what my point was. I did hear that. That's an awfully cavalier remark. I don't think we should be talking that way. I think we should be saying, we're sorry this happened. We're going to find out why. Hey, listen, I believe that there's a system. This is a pretty intricate system. I mean, I'm told that we have the most moving bridges per capita than any other city maybe in the world, definitely in the United States, other than perhaps Chicago. So we should be, what the family would hope, that was terribly hurtful to them. We would hope that he would say, I am going to use my resources as mayor to get an independent investigation on who let us down. You know, it's very convenient to maybe blame an operator, but I'm not so sure. A carpenter's only as good as his tools. And so who is the vendor that installed these videos? Who set up this system? That's what they hope. I mean, when you lose somebody, you question, in a tragedy, you question why. Oh, it's cancer. Okay, I expected that. You know, it's still hard. You mourn with them. In a tragedy situation, there is no closure unless you have answers. It can never heal.
Have you heard anything from the city, from police, as to where things stand now?
Well, the family took a while, so I'm new on the job, I guess you could say. I've only been working on the case for, you know, several days now. And so I have not had time to interact with the city, and I only have the thing that's important about the notice of claim is number one, that my hands get tied, as opposed to an ordinary case, on what I can do, and then the other thing is I only have one chance to file that. So I almost have to take the whole 120 days to get all the analysis to be able to do it effectively, because if you don't name exactly who was involved in every system and what happened, then it gets kicked out. So that's the other reason that it's very important, and the reason that the family probably wouldn't have got a lawyer already, except they saw what was happening about how the city was treating it, and they thought, oh my God, this is just going to get, you know, pushed under the rug. There's not going to be accountability for it. And they're kind of like, not kind of, I mean, their DNA, there's 6 children, I've talked to all of them. Their DNA is like you folks, they're reporters. I mean, they come from people that ask questions and want that independent accountability. You know, why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen to our dad? So.
What kind of video
You know, I don't know, but other than what you all have reported that apparently, and DPW has said this, that the live feed, which we think is behind you there, that is not recorded, okay? So is there other city video? I mean, you could have something on City Hall that perhaps could have captured something if it's the right camera. We believe that those across the street, or across the street, I guess it is across the street, but across the river, that there's 3 different surveillance cameras that could have captured something. A lot of surveillance video, people think it's video, but it's not. It's actually stop stills a lot of times. I don't know now anymore, but you know, somebody's got to, I'm going over to there after this to put them on notice, not on notice because they're not a party, but to ask their benevolence in recording it or saving it because it potentially was caught. I know one of the lawyers that works here, so I've asked them. It doesn't look like there's anything in Benihana. And the other video that somebody did obtain is pretty poor quality. You can't really see very much. So that's what we've been doing. We've been out here a couple of different times with my team to look at things. The other interesting thing about this bridge is usually the horns are up for the pedestrians. On this bridge, the horns are down there. So the only thing you have up here to warn somebody is the gate and the bells, and those were both behind Richard. The other thing that's, you know, I wanted to mention this as well. The very first thing somebody's saying is he's on his iPad or something like this. They used their iPad for navigation. They were new in town. Every time I go to a city, I use my phone or my iPad for navigation. I think we all do that. We use it for navigation. He wasn't like he was reading a book. This is a person who's engaged, commenting on the beauty of our city. They had been here for many days. They loved the city. Very historic.
I know when the family spoke, they had called on people for witnesses to come forward to submit any video. Supposedly there was some video out there being took. Has any of that come about since they made that call for help?
Well, not to them. A witness that I think you folks have interviewed, he did come forward to the family. I can make a special call to our public here. I think there was a nurse in scrubs that was right by Rosemarie, and we don't know who that is. So if she's watching or somebody who knows her is watching, but that's sort of what I'm just continuing that call as their legal representative, and because I live here and work here, my office is right on the river, and so like I said, it was only through my networking that I was able to find this other witness on the first day of trying. So there's two people that were immediately, and this is horrible to say, were exactly within feet of where he fell. There's not one, there's 2 that we know of. One was interviewed by the police, the other one was not. And then the one called the police to offer additional information, and they didn't want to add any more information. And the one witness, the one that is unknown to everybody right now, and I'm not going to name who she is because she doesn't want to be named, and this was a horrible event for her, but she's at this bridge every day. At noon, she comes and takes her break, and she's also a healthcare worker. So she takes a break every day and watches this bridge, and knows a lot about how it operates usually. Very important witness.